Peace. If you can hear me, you give me a one. As you can see, y'all are invited into the cardio session this morning. Peace. Appreciate that. Um, so yeah, we got four people, so that's good enough to get started. So the title is Lost Souls, and my we watched the movie Soul. I don't know when did it come out. I can't remember. It's been over a year, I think. But we ended up getting the DVD. And so yesterday, Erica Hanna in the house. Peace. Peace and prosperity to you too. It's been a while. Good to see you. You're still kicking. Um, so my son wanted to watch Soul in the truck. Okay. And so it's been a while for sure. For sure, Eric. It's been a while since, I had looked at the movie. This camera, the way it's angled, I look like I'm 500 pounds. It's tripped out. So we playing the movie on the way to drop them off at school. And so, I can't see the screen while I'm driving, but I can hear. And I'm hearing the part where Jamie Foxx character, James Gardner, no, Joe Gardner, you know, interesting, his last name is Gardner, and he was a teacher originally, and he felt like he was just missing out on his purpose by wasting his time trying to teach these uninterested middle schoolers how to play instruments. His dream, so he thought, was to be this big jazz artist. Well, the movie culminates in him realizing that all the while he was already living his purpose, because his purpose was to, we talk about the word kindergarten and how it comes from kindle, which means fire. And he learned that his true gift was igniting fire in souls, i.e., kindling. And so, towards the end of the movie, after he makes this realization, he looks for this lost soul who has gone by the number 22 throughout the movie. Now, what's interesting is that in simple numerology, uh, a word that equals 22 is master. Master equals 22. M is 4, A is 1, S is 1. It's interesting, even right there in the word, you got three ones, in the beginning. Then T is 2, E is 5, R is 9. Those add up to 22. Master. And so um, that's a little tidbit about what was secretly being conveyed. And so throughout the movie, this 22 is trying to find her purpose, because she's been kind of in limbo for thousands of years. And she finally thinks she's found it, and she gets shut down, and Joe is part of shutting her down. So she ends up on the astral plane, and there's a character named Moonwind who navigates the astral plane. And he says, when Joe Gardner goes looking for 22, he explains to him about the lost souls. And he describes it as lost souls are obsessed with something that separates them, no, that detaches them from life. Just to repeat, lost souls are obsessed with something that detaches them from life. Now, in that sentence, we have the bare bones of Scorpio and Taurus, which right now we have the South Node in Scorpio and the North Node in Taurus. One word that can be associated with Scorpio is obsession. What's up, wise feminine? Peace to you. Um, so obsession related to Scorpio. Now, life then we tend to associate with Taurus. Taurus is associated with the sense of taste. Okay? When an infant gets to about, well, first of all, the infant develops taste almost, let me backtrack. Taste is developed in the womb, okay? Because the gestating baby is tasting what's in the mother's amniotic fluid based on what the mother eats. How the mother eats creates a culture for the gestating baby. Culture means behavior. So the baby is getting stimulated, and the baby is learning through its taste buds. Now, on the other side, when the child is born, there's a continued development. And Taurus represents that. Taurus represents I have, I enjoy, I am pleasured. And those are associated with pleasant taste and also with life. Here's the caveat. Scorpio secretly also means life. The etymology of the word Scorpio is, I should have brought that book up here. The etymology of the word Scorpio literally traces back to mean life. So we can then deduce that this obsession referred to, lost souls are obsessed with something that, did I say detach? I think it's disconnects, that disconnects them from life. So it means that Scorpio, the detachment is that Scorpio becomes associated with the connotative idea of death. Thus, these souls become detached from the concept of living. The reality that is hidden and couched in the etymology of the word Scorpio is that there is nothing that exists but life. That's what it's really saying. There is nothing that exists but life. But if the soul, through obsession, and that obsession is usually based on pain, unresolved pain, fuels obsession. And that obsession can tip the scales so that something can be viewed one way without having another perspective. I am part of the generation that was born with Pluto in Libra from 1972 to the latter part of 1983. Pluto was in the sign of Libra. From November 1983 until November of 1995, Pluto was in the sign of Scorpio. Very significant because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. Scorpio is associated with the subconscious mind. What's up now? Go Caddy, say Scorpio North Node. So you're having your check-in point right now with the North Node and Taurus. Okay, so Pluto rules Scorpio, so it's very strong. Now, what we must realize by looking at the glyph of Pluto, it's like a dish with a ball. It's a cross with a crescent moon, basically, with a ball hovering above the crescent moon. That is to denote birth or a new birth, okay? Excuse me, i.e., life. So, in essence, then, what Pluto represents is transformation and transmutation. Therefore, Scorpio is not to be viewed as death in the connotative sense that we hold that word, as in the ending, finito. It is a transition point, which is why those two on that axis stand for the same thing. The danger of Pluto in Scorpio is that it can lend to overt obsession because it is so strong in its home sign. The mythology of Pluto supports what I'm saying. Pluto is Lord of the underworld. He, in mythology, and I haven't read all mythology, but I, from what I can see, Pluto, uh, peace, MJ, salute to you. Salute to you too. Um, Pluto, as Lord of the underworld, is not mentioned as having a lot of lovers. Okay. So the one woman the only one I've discovered, which doesn't mean that this is the end all be all, but it's only encounter with a lover that I've discovered is with Persephone. Now, Persephone is the daughter of Demeter, where we get the word diameter. So Demeter divides, okay? Um, which also refers to the vagina. It divides so that it can multiply. Because Demeter is also the goddess Ceres, where we get, what's up, 40 more? Um, Ceres is where we get the word cereal. And cereal is from wheat. We're talking about nourishment. We're talking about food, sustenance. Ceres is a goddess of grain and nourishment. Okay? She is naturally associated with the fourth house, which is the house associated with the sign of Cancer. So Cancer and Ceres and Virgo have something in common, that cultivating, nourishing, feeding, developing energy. Now, Ceres can also fall prey to obsession. Pluto can be obsessed with that which is beneath the earth, and Ceres can be obsessed with that which is above the earth. The story is she has her beautiful daughter, Persephone, and they would walk through the beautiful gardens, flower beds, and, you know, above earth, and just, enjoying the sameness and the static nature of their beauty. As in, things are beautiful, I don't want them to change. That's Taurus. One day she's not with Persephone, and Persephone wants to go out and, I guess, frolic in the fields. And Pluto's been waiting and plotting, and he sees his chance, and he takes action based on his obsession, and he kidnaps Persephone. Now, there's a long, drawn out story about how Ceres went on a slash Demeter went on a rampage, and she goes and consults the gods, and she withholds food and all this until an agreement is met where Persephone will live beneath the earth with Pluto half of the year and above the earth with her mother the other half. I said this to highlight the obsession of Pluto, but in me talking, I have to acknowledge that its obsession, period, is what the story is looking to address. Whether it's obsession with what I see, tangible things, uh, pleasure items, uh, um, things the trappings of so-called life, or if it's with death, as in separation from what I perceive as life. The story is saying ultimately what is the objective is transformation and some semblance of balance. The danger for those born between 83, the end of 83, and the end of 95, is becoming obsessed with what appears to be nouveau, what appears to be against the establishment, especially now because Pluto's been moving through Capricorn, which is the establishment. What can happen is you can become completely skewed in one direction. And whenever that happens and you lose perspective, it's detrimental at a physical and spiritual level. What can trigger this is a wound or a series of wounds. If there was ever a generation, and notice how long this cycle is, 22 years where Pluto was in Scorpio, because it's really enjoying itself being in its home sign. So that's like if you, let's see, that's some people who might be 30, no, 38 to 95, 27, somewhere in there. Um, it is important for all of us to try to acknowledge our wounds and work through them in a healthy manner. It is, I think, ultimately, that's what existence in these bodies is for, to work through wounds. And I think wounds are necessary to provide the pressure to create something greater than what was. It's the possibly the universe's uh, means of weaving more divine souls. I don't know, but it is very important to understand your wounds and to not become worshipers of the disillusionment that can come from those wounds. The institutions of religion, in indirectly and directly, have served majorly in creating wounds. Um, and it's interesting that during the time of Pluto's transit in Scorpio, especially Christianity was starting to go through an overhaul because nobody studies astrology more than religious folk as far as religious leaders. The house systems that we use in astrology primarily come from the Roman Catholic Church. Placidus and these other systems are primarily based on Roman monks. So are we silly to think that institution would hold all these scrolls and not use them? Why would they keep them if it's just heresy? It's so I can have the knowledge and you can't. So we'd be remiss to think and not acknowledge that during this time, the one of the primary factions of uh, Catholicism, which is Protestantism, and its various factions, would not need to go through a restructuring to try to accommodate the natural energy that is directed towards transformation. Because Pluto at its highest form is transformation. In the sign of Scorpio, it is about transformation when it touches the symbol of the phoenix. When it is flying beneath that, it's the eagle. The eagle is very consciously aware, very powerful, but it uses its power to attack. It uses its power to be like a missile. The lowest level of Scorpio is the scorpion. It always hangs around on the ground. It stings anything that gets by it. And this is what often you see on the internet that is promoted as I'm an occultist or I'm into my whatever. It's really just low level scorpionic energy. You know, I'm impressed with transformation. I'm not impressed with repeating what other people say or joining um, the congregation of a new church. Although you don't think you're part of a church, but you are, because you still have that same mentality. You have the same mentality of looking for a savior. You replace Jesus or whatever else, or if you never had one, it don't matter. That is a archetype, the archetype of some prophet who directs me, and I hang on every word. And if I hear anything that challenges that or goes outside that line, then I'm gonna try to combat it. That's a sign of a wound. Sometimes I don't watch the comments because some people strictly come to just disrupt. Now, I don't talk about any psychic stuff or this and that. Let me tell you, I can read people and I don't have to be around them to read them. Not perfect with it, but I do have it. And I can feel your pain, I can feel your wounds, and I can feel your need for attention. And I'm not talking to you, the people who actually come here to be fed. I'm talking to those who come here to throw up and to defecate on an exaltation of knowledge and wisdom. I'm talking to you. And you'll know who it is. You'll know it's you if you're listening. It's pity that I have. Um, because I understand people's wounds. One of the biggest wounds is not being paid enough attention. Why do we think social media really rocking and pinging like it is? People can say whatever they want. They into all of this and that. At the core, still a little baby there who needs attention. And it ain't nothing wrong with that because it's part of the human experience to need, to receive, and to thrive from attention. But unfortunately, when that wound is triggered, I will seek attention in any way I can get it. And I have never felt like I was in connection with what I perceive to be life. So I'm going to do my damnedest to try to promote what I think is the opposite, not knowing that nothing exists but life. You can quote me on that. And back to the movie, that's what basically was being alluded to. A lost soul is obsessed with something that disconnects them from life. And that's where we get the Quillpoth, the shells, disconnected. The challenge, not just for Scorpio, Pluto and Scorpio generation, but for me and every other generation, is to heal. My grandmother is 91 years old, and she's moving down that corridor as we speak to transition. And I've come to realize that my mother is a death doula. Just by nature, she's a death doula. She's got this very royal, red, beautiful blanket lying on my grandmother, you know, um, and it is if the queen is being coronated on the other side. And my grandmother and my mother had a rough life, especially early on. My grandmother gave birth to my mother at 15 in 1946. So that's like having a scarlet letter on your chest. My grandmother never, in her mind, lived it down. You know, my mother has lived most of her life in defiance of what she felt like was the way my grandmother is. But here, as transition approaches, they have spent more time together, although they've been living in the same house for 9 years. They have spent more time together in peace than in 75 years of my mother's life. So if it takes 75 years, so what? At the end of the day, it's about healing. Healing. And my mother told my grandmother, I wish I would have been more meek and humble like you and not always so rah, rah, rah. And she said, my grandmama kind of chuckled, you know, and they both told each other that they loved each other, which is something I've never heard. I've seen my mother express her love to my grandmother in her own way, you know. Hell, she didn't dump her in a home. My grandmother been living with her, like I said, 9 years, you know. So she might not go around acting all butterflowery and this and that. But for sure, go cat. But my mother's a Virgo, and so sacrifice. She's shown her love through sacrifice. And um, it's just something that really makes me think, you know, what are we really here for? Individually, I know about the collective struggles, you know, but on an individual level, is it not about healing? And if it's not about healing, what is it about? Because all that other shit is secondary at best, in my humble estimate to that. With that said, I'm going to call this a broadcast. Damn, I appreciate y'all. 36 minutes flew by like it wasn't nothing. I'll be damned. I might have been tapped into my new cardio regimen. It used to be driving from work and doing a live. It might be you're most welcome, Wise Feminine. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Um, you know, yeah. But everybody, as my mother used to tell her friends when she get off the phone, keep your chin up. Erica says, thank you for making me think about my own mom and the healing of the generations that need to be healed. For sure. For sure. You're most welcome. Right on, Tracy. Well, thank y'all for taking your time out, tuning in. If you'd like to partake of some of my services, I think they're transformational, then you can visit me at 720astrology.com. Um, Classes will be starting soon. Those classes will encompass everything: astrology, metaphysics, life coaching, everything all in one. As always, stay down till you get up. And when you get up, stay down.